Oh, we're good. All right, good afternoon, everybody. How's everybody doing today? Yeah. Awesome. Hey, we might as well be happy. We're here to celebrate and hang out with entrepreneurs, and I think we all are that, so I think that's pretty fun, no? So I'll give you guys a quick scoop on what we're doing, why we're here, all that good stuff. Some of you may know, some of you have been part of it. But I guess the first thing I should start off with, which I always forget to do, my name is Jeffrey Podvin, and we are the runners, operators of OPN, which stands for the Open People Network, where we came together to find a way to help entrepreneurs. And how do we help entrepreneurs? We created a space, a time for all the entrepreneurs to come in and pitch their business. At some point, it's not going to all happen in one day. Just make sure of that because everybody does want to jump on and pitch. So, but the whole principle behind what we do is that we wanted to provide a platform that allowed for entrepreneurs to interact together, but get in front of investors, VCs, angels, you name it, everybody out there so they could actually tell everybody what they do and get some practice behind it. The key behind everything that we do as entrepreneurs is that we always are trying to be more repetitive, get practice, get better at what we do, and get feedback from the community, and that's really what we try to drive and strive for at OPN. So some of the things that we've done to date, we've been running events in Toronto for the last 8 months. They run out of 251 Queen Street, which is a space that we operate and work out of, which is a great eclectic space. And then we've been working with community leaders inside of York, Durham, and we're working on other regions as we go. So for the hashtag tonight, you guys can help us out by tweeting, Instagram, Facebook, all of that good stuff. And you can find it all and push it through at Pitchit York. This is our second session that we've run and operated in York region. We are now on our 15th event, and we started in October last year. So with Pitchit, our whole mantra and what we're trying to do is help companies spend less time finding money and more time growing your company. There's a little bit of a gap that we found is that when companies start to work their way through, they come up with their MVP, they come up with a build, and they start to work through that little gap of where I go next before I go and start getting funding is kind of where we're jumping in to help out. So some of the sponsors that have helped us from the beginning and have jumped on as we have been working and growing, Hardboot, which is my software company, and that has been in existence for the last 10 years, helping build custom mobile web software. Flow Water, which is a company that started roughly 2 years ago, and they have been sponsoring our events since day one. We helped seed round invest in that company, and they've been amazing ever since. Well, they were amazing before that, but they're still a great company, and they've been helping out. Legal firm that's been helping us, and they help all of our clients, which is Miller Thompson. Symbol in the sales side. And Startup York, who has been fantastic in helping us put this all together, which is all behind Lucas. York Angels, who being a part of the group and the community has been awesome, and that's all been followed up with all of the advice and great hard work from Jess. Launch You, another great supporter who's helped us get in here today and hopefully going forward, and that's Nile. I'm not sure. Oh, there he is right there. And then we've been working closely with the Canada-China Club, and that's with Jason. I'm not sure where, there he is right there. And they've been great as well, and that's also with a program that we're going to talk about today, which is around T-Hero. So I want to thank all of our sponsors for all of their help because they help us keep pushing this forward and helping us get out and touch more entrepreneurs. So let's thank them. So some of the events that we want to kind of touch base on that kind of help this all make it a little bit more exciting and more in reach. We have another event tomorrow night, which is Pitchit TO, and this is kind of the original one, which started it all off. It runs at 251 Queen Street, and it starts at 5:30 and kicks off at 6:15 with pitches. So if you guys are in the city and like to join us, by all means, come on down. Our big event, it seems to be now our show horse of events, is Pitchit TO City Hall, where we've had, the last event, we had over 300 people, 350 people come and join us to watch 4 great pitches. So we're certainly building up a lot of great community around this, and we hope you guys can join us at that. From there, we have September 18th, Durham. The one that I highlighted and bolded, which is one that we're looking at building out and hopefully on a monthly basis, is going to be a Pitchit York Startup Founders Lunch. And this is going to take place on September 20th at 11 o'clock, and this will be at the lodge as well, which is 251 Queen. And we implore you guys to sign up. We're just working on the logistics right now, and it should be a great little setup. We might have a couple speakers come in and talk, but the whole idea is that you guys will be able to network with like-minded entrepreneurs and find out and hear about great things that are going on in the area and the communities. From there, we have Pitchit York and a bunch of other ones that are all mixed in there, but the next big one is going to be the Y2 Entrepreneur Conference, which is on October 15th and 21st, and Lucas will touch base on this a little bit more. And on November 2nd, which Jason will talk about, will be around the T-Hero event, and he'll give you more details on that shortly. So outside that, I'm going to introduce Nile, who's the one that's helped us get here today. So round for Nile.
Thank you, Jeffrey. On behalf of York University, I welcome you all to the space. This is the first event of this kind happening in this space. This is a brand new space, as you might have figured out with the elevators issue, but we've been having this space since 1 month. So welcome you all to the space. As we grow along, we'll try to host more such events in the space and make this as a more collaborative space. If you have any questions about this, I'm happy to give you a tour as well at the end of this for the space. But let me tell you a little bit about what we do at LaunchYU. I'll not take a lot of time, but LaunchYU is York University's entrepreneurship program. We are based out of our Kiel campus in the Innovation York office, Innovation Office for York. And the program is housed at York, but it's open for everyone. It's open for staff, faculty members, and students at York, but it's also open to community members. So we do work a lot with entrepreneurs who are not necessarily associated, graduated, or students, or associated with York at any stage, but they are connected to us just being part of the community. So that's our mandate. Our goal is to build and support high-impact entrepreneurs. And we focus on high impact because we have limited capacity and we cannot work with everyone. We focus on companies which are high impact, which have scale, and which have the ability to achieve scale at some point. And that could be true for-profit and not-for-profit organizations. We are funded by the provincial government and by York University, so we don't take any cost, or there's no charge, or there's no fees, or equity sharing, or anything like that. It's all free for the entrepreneurs. The only thing that we expect is your commitment to your venture and your commitment to the programs. So going about the programs, we have 3 main programs. Ignite Up is our weekly mentorship program that we offer for all stages of the companies and all through the year. So you book an appointment online, and you work with a mentor through that program. And we're ramping up this program with adding more mentors as we speak along. So we'll have a renewed Ignite Up in a month or so. But that's our program that happens all through the year. Rev Up is a 5-event workshop series. I'm going to talk about the upcoming series in a bit. But that happens twice a year. So once in March and once in October and November timeframe. And Accelerate Up is our flagship accelerator program that we've been running since past 3 years now. It's a program that runs all through the summer. It's a program that we select only 20 companies to go through the program. We do offer some funding to the companies participating in the program, but the funding is offered based on the milestones that they achieve. And it's offered every summer. And there's an application process to it. This cohort is already towards the end, but the next cohort will begin the applications will begin in February, and the next cohort will begin in May. So that's a brief about our programs. This is our Rev Up workshop series that I talked about. We basically have 4 events, 4 workshops focusing on different aspects of building a startup. It starts off with business modeling and customer validation. Then we get into implementation and prototyping about, okay, once you have a business plan and business model, how do you actually implement and make a prototype? Then we'll get into revenue engineering, or marketing and sales, as a lot of people call it, but more about, okay, how do you build a business model, and how do you actually execute on that, and how do you actually start making money, and start getting it used by users. Next, we'll have a workshop on pitching, and finally a workshop on financing and fundraising. So that's our 5-event workshop series. It starts in October and goes until November. You go on launchyou.ca and you'll find the links to these workshops, and they all happen at our campus, on the Kiel campus. And finally, we have an event coming up in October in this space where you are right now. That's our startup weekend. This is the third time that we are hosting it, but this is the first time we are hosting it here. This is the startup weekend York region. How many of you here know about startup weekends? Okay, so there are a few who don't know. So startup weekend is actually, for the ones who don't know, it's a 54-hour event. It starts off on Friday evening with idea pitches. So everyone gets 1 minute to pitch their ideas. Then everyone gets a vote, and everyone votes to select the top 10 ideas. Then they get into forming teams. So everyone forms the teams right there. And then they go out to work on their ideas all through the weekend. So we have this happening all through the weekend. So Friday night it begins, and it ends on Sunday night. We have some pop-up workshops. We have mentors coming in through Saturday and Sunday, guiding on different aspects of the business. And the participants are expected to launch new startups on Sunday evening. So the startups present, and there are 3 prizes. They pitch what they've worked on over the weekend, and they get awarded. So that's the weekend. It's a fun event. It's been going on for 10 years now, for a decade now. This is the 10th year of Startup Weekend globally. It has been in more than 1,400 cities. It has been a global phenomena. It's run by Techstars. If you guys know, Techstars is a startup accelerator based out of Boulder. They actually organize, and they have the structure for this. And we are hosting the York region version here in October. And the next one would be in the last weekend of January. I can't remember the dates, but that's held at Seneca's Markham campus. So we host it twice a year, once at York and once at Seneca. This one is happening in this space. So that's all from my side. If you have any questions about this event, find me. I'll be around all the time. And if you have any, if you want to participate, go to startupweekendyork.com. The page, we are still trying to get it. The event page is not launched yet, but it will be launched in a day or two. We are hoping by the end of by Friday we'll get it done. But and yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. The registrations for these are already up, so you can sign up and register for these events. Okay? Pass it back to you.
Thank you. Okay, next we're going to have Jason come up and speak for a second on T-Hero.
Hi, my name is Jason Zhang from Canada-China Club. We are running a international innovation competition. It's called T-Hero Toronto. It's hosted by the city of Guangzhou in China, and we are looking for selecting 3 winners going to China, Guangzhou, to compete with projects from 8 different countries. And we are, for this event, all the travel expenses will be sponsored. It's going to be end of November. And it will be a great opportunity for your projects to pitching to the top investors in China, and also doing business in the world's second largest economy. So if you want to know more information about this, you can just talk to me after, or you can just talk to Jeffrey. Okay, so that's all about it.
Okay, awesome. That's pretty exciting, guys. When we will start working with companies to figure out which ones would be most viable to make their way to China, and then the competition, that's going to open up the doors to bring 3 great startups into China. So I think that's a great initiative. Okay, so we can't forget that there's going to be a draw, so we'll get to win a couple of T-shirts and some coffee cards, all that good stuff. So we'll do that at the end, so don't forget. Now, why we're all here, so we can get a little brief understanding of what the rules of engagement are. So the way we're going to start is we have 4 startups. When the startup comes on to the stage, they have 11 minutes to pitch. At the 11th minute, they will be stopped. And the reason being is we're trying to make it so that they're able to push the most information out within that time period, which is how we kind of try to mirror it with all the angel groups. They usually have a set time between 10 to 15 minutes, and we set it at 11 to say, well, we'll give you an extra minute, but we want to make sure that you're pretty precise on that. So lots of good feedback that can come out of that. So 11 minutes. And then we go into the advisors. So we have 3 advisors. And the way this works is the advisors have 1 minute each. 1 minute. Angelo, don't give me that. You're like, oh, I got to take at least 6. 5. All right, 5. So they have 1 minute to give you critical feedback. And this feedback is all about helping you improve. And then from there, we'll do 5 minutes of Q&A from the audience. So I do implore you all to think deep and come up with some questions, because these are the questions that are going to really help the entrepreneurs with their business. So please think about some questions and feel free to ask them. When you do ask the question, if you can, wait till we get the mic to you, because we are recording this all live, which is on the cameras over here. And you can find all this information at w's.opn.ninja. The only reason why I say W's is because nobody remembers that .ninja is actually an extension. So it is opn.ninja, and you can get all the live feed and information from there. Okay, so the first and the 3 advisors that are going to be helping us tonight. Satijan, running an incubator, accelerator, portfolio manager at Ideal, which is awesome. They're a big community supporter, so we got to thank him for coming tonight. He has been here before, but he's awesome, so he's got lots of great feedback for you guys. The second is Jess, and not the second or first, there's no numbers here, but Jess, who is also a York Angel and runs the York Angels. She has a vast background, and honestly, I think you guys are all awesome, so I don't even know what to say, but I'm not going to say anymore. That's it. They're just awesome at what they do, and they're very good at providing great feedback. And Angelo, also another York Angel, big community guy. He's done a lot of things over the years as well with the rest of the 3. And I always like telling everybody that he was the Angel of the Year. I don't know if you can still keep that going, though, Angelo. Oh, it's good. That's awesome. I like it. Okay, there you go. So we got lots of exciting things that are going to happen here with the Angels, so they'll provide lots of great feedback. So without further ado, the teams that are going to be pitching, we have Space iShare, Ubiquitous, Barkin App, and Senior Care. And the first one that is going to be up, Senior Care.
About 5 years ago, working as a social worker in hospital, I met Susan, whose elderly father had just had a mild stroke. He had partial paralysis on his left side, so he needed help doing the most basic tasks, like getting dressed or even going to the washroom. The doctors told Susan that, unfortunately, there was nothing more they could do for her father in hospital. And because the hospital was over capacity, she was told that her father would be discharged in the next few days. Now, Susan's father living at home alone was no longer an option, but neither was living with Susan. She worked full-time, she didn't have the space, and she had 3 young children to take care of. So she thought to herself, what are my options, and where do I even begin looking? She was even more stressed out now. This was an all too common scenario I would experience, seeing families distraught over trying to find the most appropriate care for their aging loved ones. In fact, in Canada, 74% of caregivers taking care of elderly parents reported experiencing distress, such as worry or anxiety. With a lack of knowledge about the healthcare system, many unfamiliar care options, limited time, and the pressure to want to make the right decisions, families easily become overwhelmed. So to me, from this experience, the problem became very clear. Families, despite current solutions, were still having great difficulty finding appropriate care options for their aging loved ones. So I thought to myself, there has to be a better way to help these families, a way to create some type of one-stop resource where they could search various care options, but in one place, but yet still have access to professional guidance from someone who's an expert within the healthcare industry. With a growing aging population, all of us, at some point, are going to need to access or search some degree of care, either for ourselves or for a loved one. So there has to be an easier and more efficient way to do this. And this is why Senior Care Connect was created. Senior Care Connect helps families in crisis find the best care option for their aging loved one. We're a compassionate service, as we genuinely want to help, and we understand the stress related to finding the right care. We're also professionally guided. So unlike our competitors, you have the peace of mind knowing that you're working with a professional social worker who has years of experience helping families navigate the healthcare system. And in addition to this, we've created a web platform to help save you time that will allow you to easily and quickly search various care options all online in one place through our web platform. Now, our current MVP focuses on one care type, and that is retirement homes. And we've created a demo mock-up of how it will work. You access the web platform, you enter in what you're looking for, and the type of help that you need. Based on your inputted need, which will be more than just the 3 options listed here, the system then does a search, and creates a display of the 3 retirement homes that best match your care needs.
There. If you were going to purchase a home, you would work with a professional realtor. So if you're going to move into a retirement home, why would you not work with a professional social worker? What we offer, unlike our competitors, is the option to work with a professional social worker who essentially acts as your retirement home realtor, doing the research, arranging the tours, attending the tours with you, and holding your hand throughout the entire selection process. So how does a company make money? Well, we have 3 revenue streams. First is commission, where we get referral fee from senior care businesses. For example, if we work with a clientele to place them in a retirement home, the residents will then compensate us for the referral. Secondly, fee-for-service options through additional purchases from clients for premium services, as well as through paid speaking engagements where organizations hire us to present workshops on senior and healthcare as subject matter experts. And thirdly, advertising as a future stream, where we'll provide online advertising on our web platform to help companies reach the coveted 45-plus age demographic who account for 80% of healthcare spending in Canada. So as mentioned, all of us at some point will need to access care for ourselves or for a loved one. So what's the market opportunity here? Well, in North America, there are 52 million seniors, and in Canada, there are 6 million seniors. As we scale, we will look to tap into these larger markets. But for our current MVP, we're focusing on a test market of the GTA area and the 9,200 seniors within the senior care residence market. So what makes us different than our competition? Well, first, as mentioned, we offer the option of a retirement
where you have a professional who's an expert within the industry to guide you through the entire process. So unlike our competitors who may give you a list of options and say good luck on your search, we can attend the tours with you and walk you through the entire selection process. Secondly, we're professionally guided, where some of our competitors have you do searches on your own and provide no guidance, where other competitors provide guidance, but they're not by qualified healthcare professionals. With Senior Care Connect, you'll be working with professionals who are experts in the healthcare industry and know how to navigate the system. And thirdly, a one-stop resource. While our MVP focuses primarily on retirement homes, we're creating a centralized portal that will allow you to search various care options, such as home care, nutrition, exercise, and other options, all in one place online through our web platform. So moving to our marketing and our sales forecast, in year 1, our focus will primarily be on building our company's credibility through public speaking, trade show, online presence, and online blogs and contributions, looking to bring in a revenue of $372,000 by the end of year 1. As we move into year 2, we'll focus our efforts on increased online presence, so increase ad spend on search engine optimization, social media advertising, and we'll look to garner $2.7 million in revenue by the end of year 2. As we continue to grow, we look to add on larger scale marketing such as print, TV, and radio television, and bringing in $6.3 million by the end of year 3. Also keep note that these numbers are just based on our test market and the one revenue stream of retirement home placements within that one test market in Toronto. So what type of traction have we been able to garner since beginning? Since starting, we've been able to work with several reputable organizations and partner with them, including Rivera Retirement Living, Living Assistance Services, Home Instead Senior Care, the Markham Stouffville Hospital, the YMCA, as well as other organizations. In addition to this, we've helped over 100 families through our consultation services, as well as through our various educational workshops that we've provided throughout the city. So where have we come from, where are we today, and where are we going in the future? Well, in 2014, Senior Care Connect was born, and we were able to launch the first version of our business, which acted primarily as a consultation service, which gave us the opportunity to gain market validation and to begin to develop some strategic partnerships. In April of this year, we were able to be accepted into the Launch YU Business Accelerator program and are now on the verge of launching the second version of our business,
which is our MVP focused on retirement home searches in the GTA, and are looking in coming years to expand the services, to add care options to be searched for on the care platform, and to expand within the North American market. So, do we have the team to execute? Yes. Starting with myself, Crystal Lewis. I'm the founder and CEO of Senior Care Connect. And I'm a registered social worker with both my bachelor and master's in social work and over 10 years of experience in the field with an expertise in healthcare and senior care planning. And have encountered hundreds of families who are experiencing this exact problem of finding care for seniors, and I understand their needs and how to connect them with the resources in order to help them. Partnered with Tyrone McGregor, who's our project lead, a serial entrepreneur and has a strong technical background, and Dayton Hayes, who's the lead developer for our web platform. In addition to this, we have advisors in several areas, including marketing, graphic design and branding, front-end web development, as well as healthcare web application. So, what do we need in order to continue to grow? We need you. Currently, we're looking for Senior Care Connect to raise seed funding of $100,000 for 10% equity in the company, which will primarily focus on marketing campaign, to have PR and marketing staff implement and have a marketing budget and implement a marketing strategy in order to increase qualified leads and our sales as we look to scale outside of our market into other markets, as well as for product improvements as we move from our beta version to our enterprise version and add web options to our web platform to be searched for beyond just retirement homes, as well as working capital. My name again is Crystal Lewis, and I'm the founder and CEO of Senior Care Connect. Thank you very much.
Perfect timing. Okay, guys.
Huge. Okay, great. Great job, Crystal. I'm Angelo. Nice to meet you. And I think you did a wonderful job in defining the problem statement and really bridging that out to everyone. Personally, I've been a caregiver for my mom, my dad, and now my brother. So I know the issue. And having an 89-year-old mom in the hospital, incapacitated, and being forced out of the hospital because she reached the time limit. And the feedback from the social worker at the hospital was, I understand your dilemma. Just accept her at home. And then tomorrow, just call the ambulance and have them come back here, and then we'll reset the clock. That's not a solution to the problem. And what you're talking about is the solution to the problem. So kudos to you. I think it's a needed service and solution within the elderly community. I think you've got an interesting revenue model. The one thing that I think that you might want to do is in the definition of your revenue projections and stream, identify how much of the revenues are coming in from the 3 different streams. I think that's important, so that your audience can gauge where the greatest return is going to be derived from. And you also have a really strong customer base right now. The key challenge I see is that I have no time left, but the key challenge I see is how do you convert the service-based customer base
into the ongoing revenue base that you have. So good luck.
Hi, Krista. It was a great presentation. Like, I like the storytelling, the flow, and everything was really, really well done. I was writing questions that I wanted to ask, and as you went through the presentation, those were being answered. So it was a really good delivery of the presentations and the content. So it's pretty good. One thing that I would stress is that, like Angelo said, it is a problem. Like, I have seen people go through these things as well, but not being able to identify a solution where they can get this information. There are so many people trying to address this problem, probably in bits and pieces, and nothing has been perfected yet, I would assume. So it's a good project to go after and maybe address the market. In trying to target the customers, what would your strategy be in terms of going direct to customers or establishing channel partners? So that would be something that I will ask you to focus on that. That'd be good.
Crystal, it was an excellent presentation, and I think Angelo and Sath touched on a number of points. I liked the progression of how you worked through it, and your delivery was very clear. So as someone who hasn't had to go through that situation, it was very educational for me, which was really helpful. Your numbers look fantastic. They're very exciting. That always worries me as an angel investor. I get a little too worried. I'm like, ooh, that's just a little too good. So when you talked about you'd reached out and you had different partners within the retirement community, maybe going into a little bit more depth in terms of your conversations with them, how they've talked about the commission model, what you've already sort of talked about there. Because right now it sounds almost too good to be true, and I'd love it to be true for you, but that's a super aggressive hockey stick that you've put there for a 3-year model in terms of the rollout and the value that you're going to derive very quickly from it. So if you could put some more sort of numbers behind it to substantiate where that's going to be, especially because the commission is going to be, from what I understand, the first and most profitable stream for you initially. So really making that a little bit more quantifiable, I think, would give a potential investor a level of comfort to knowing that it's not just pure optimism and winging a prayer, but it's actually, we've had these discussions and this is how we're absolutely. It's hard to argue with numbers, right? Yeah, or at least you can debate them, but at least you've got something to spring forward for debating. So I think that was really strong. I liked the way you broke down where your seed funding was going to go, and look forward to chatting more.
Okay, that was great. Awesome. Good feedback as well. Anybody in the crowd that has a question?
Hi there, great presentation. Can you hear me? Hello? Yeah, I can hear you. I have a question about, I've seen another pitch from a company called, I just had it in my head, Pearl's Choice. So can you, do you know of them, and can you compare what's different between you and them?
Yes, I am familiar with Pearl's Choice. They are a direct competitor. I would say the main purpose in terms of Pearl's Choice and something that we look to differentiate is, one, they're primarily just an online model. There's no actual professional guidance through it. You go on, you kind of search for your own thing, you're kind of your own, which is helpful, but the added element we have is the guidance that you have access to through a social worker, either through a phone call or through being their retirement home realtor. And the bigger vision really is that we're not looking to be a retirement home search engine, to be a web platform to search various care options, but in one location. So the main thing would be not just focusing on retirement home, and secondly, the personalized and professional guidance that you get throughout the process in terms of the differentiating factor.
So then my follow-up question is, how do you scale that? Because you've got to hire a whole crap load of people who are perfect and wonderful, and you've got to make sure you've got to manage them all, and I presume your numbers have all dealt with, but how do you hire hyperscale to 2.7 million that quickly?
And so what we're doing in terms of our model, we're bringing on social workers to do that, is also going to be a commission-based model similar to that of a realtor. So they won't be directly kind of having a salary, but someone like Uber, except for we don't have drivers, we have social workers. So being in the field often, we either work part-time or do you have extra time, because a lot of social workers, they only make so much money. So it gives them the opportunity to still use their skill set and do stuff in their free time, such as either evening or weekends, which is a prime time for our demographic, which is usually the sandwich generation, to have access outside of working hours to be able to do that. So it's a bit of an added element. So as far as scaling, when it's commission-based sales, it's really based on the sales. So you don't have that huge overhead of hiring 1 million qualified people, because that's a keystone. We need these people to be qualified and experienced in the healthcare system, which I feel is a missing gap with some of our competitors in terms of providing guidance. Yes, that's a good way to put it. I could have just said that. I just could have saved a bunch of time.
Okay, great. Anybody else?
Thank you, Crystal. Great presentation, great idea. The question is, how many customers do you expect in year 1, year 2, year 3, and how many consultants should you have to serve them?
So in year 1, based on our numbers, we're looking at having one employee who works a regular 40-hour week, and looking at a conversion rate or a workload rate of about 50%. So they're not going at 100%. So on the financials, which I don't have in front of me right now, I think the amount that can be placed per month based on those hours, I think was 36 possible messages, and then getting a percentage of that. Sorry, I don't have the financials in front of me, but in the financial spreadsheet, in year 1, it's one employee working 40 hours a week at a workload rate of about 50%, converting that amount per month based on the commission rate that we negotiated with some of the retirement homes.
After GTA, I think because the slide showed it would be 3 years within the GTA region. So what would be your next market?
The next market we'd look to would be likely to expand to within the Ontario area, and then from that to other provinces, and then into the United States, which they have a healthcare system that's a little bit different than ours. So focusing first on Ontario, because that's the most familiar, and then branch to the other province, and then we'll work on the US.
One last question. Okay.
Generally, with elderly care, there's compliancy issues. Have you faced those, or have you addressed them at all concerning your model?
When you say compliancy issues, can you, in terms of like liability
You're
or
engaging
insurance?
social service workers, to advise specific families for the elderly care.
Yes.
Have you addressed province-to-province compliancy issues?
So in terms of compliancy issues, in terms of the professionals, so anyone who's going to be hired on has to be a registered social worker. So there's compliancy issues in terms of needing to have that registration that people will need to meet in order to be able to fulfill this role. Yeah, so yes. So again, that speaks to the guise of some of the competitors just have other staff who may have even sales or marketing background who are kind of selling these services but don't actually have frontline experience. So yes, you need to be registered and have certain qualifications and background checks in terms of to work with this particular population.
Okay, great. That was awesome. Thank you. Sarah, you're up.
Hey everybody, my name is Sarah and I am the CEO of Space I Share. Space I Share is the peer-to-peer marketplace for self-storage, including boats, cars, and RVs. I want you to meet my Auntie Joan. Auntie Joan took a job out in Edmonton and moved out there for 2 years. Knowing that she would be back in Toronto, she spent all her money on self-storage, and the price tag was $12,000. I looked at my empty basement and I thought, there's gotta be a better way. And did you know that the average homeowner has 300,000 items? Where the heck do we put it all? Well, 1 in 10 Americans and 1 in 20 Canadians use self-storage. But self-storage is often expensive and located too far away. And right now, bylaws are making it more and more difficult for self-storage facilities to build in the urban centers where people need space the most. At Space I Share, now you can rent space from your neighbors. Think driveways, garages, or sheds. Costs can be up to 50% less than traditional self-storage facilities or a more convenient location to store your vehicle. We are building a marketplace where people can share space in a safe, trusted, and reliable environment. And for hosts, renting out space to store someone's stuff is a lot easier than entertaining an Airbnb guest. And hosts get to dictate the terms, price, access, and house rules. For renters, they can easily browse, book, and pay for space on the platform in a location that's near with them in their community. And renters also can save up to the 50% or more off that space. We also provide them with legal documents, as well as we give them a $2,500 coverage. Space I Share takes a 15% service fee off every transaction, and we cover most legal, liability, and insurance. And we take those things very seriously. So in addition to the legal documents that get shared between the host and the renter, we cover that $2,500 Space I Share assurance, but we are also in talks with partnering with the world's #1 insurance adjuster. They would give us access to an enormous supply of property managers, condo developers, legal people, as well as claims managers worldwide. And what they see is a great opportunity. They know that the sharing economy is disrupting a lot of traditional industries, and they want to join us for the ride. If just 2% of people were to share space in North America, we have a $1.5 billion total addressable market. And one core target are the millennials. They are sharing economy enthusiasts, and 53% of them own homes. Looking at this from the self-storage industry, it's a $35 billion industry, and 75% of renters said that price was their #1 consideration when looking for storage space. If we just looked at this from 10% addressable market, we have a $1.2 billion opportunity. So we soft launched last fall and already have 1,000 listings and paying customers. $15,000 has gone through our platform, and that equates to about 150 transactions. About 80% of those transactions were vehicle storage or parking, and most of those people rented space for 6 months or more. And while all of this is great, we do understand that the peer-to-peer marketplace takes a lot of money and also takes great grassroots initiatives. So in order to appeal more to investors as well as get faster traction, we are pivoting slightly and going after the commercial space. So what we know based on the conversations we've had with our partners to date, there is a huge pain point right now with condo managers, property managers, as well as landlords, and that is the sharing economy. The sharing economy is currently a $15 billion industry, but it's expected to grow to $335 billion within 10 years. And so our solution is to get in front of the problem. Essentially, we're going after commercial spaces based here, first in Toronto, and then we'll expand across Canada and into the US as our site becomes more robust and we can scale. Condo boards specifically have a really big problem with this. Their tenants and their owners are constantly sharing space like storage and parking, event space, subletting, and overnight stays, and they don't have any way of tracking it. Our solution is to provide them with a platform where everyone can share space under their domain and also profit at the same time. So we know that this $35 billion industry spans across big cities and small within the continent, but it is ripe for disruption. Space with self-storage is expensive and very far away. And storage is really hot right now, with companies like MakeSpace and Clutter have raised big rounds. However, when you're a renter and you want to have regular access to your things, think about golf clubs. You won't be able to get it easily, and then the cost will become too high. At Space I Share, you can access your things according to the agreement that you made with your host. And on Craigslist, there are currently over 10,000 listings in 5 cities for storage and parking. I bet you many of them aren't allowed to literally be up on Craigslist and rented out with the condo developer. And yet there are no reviews, there's no insurance, and there's no easy way to pay. Our long-term vision is to become a space hub. We have started with vehicle storage and plan to grow the storage category, but our goal is to expand into events, subletting, and more. And our team, we're the team to do it. We have over 50 years experience in sales, management, marketing, operations. My co-founder and I worked at a startup digital media company that drove more revenues than AOL and Yahoo. We also have a CTO who recently had an exit with Bitstrips, and I also managed our developer who worked with me at a different startup where I was the general manager. We were the top graduate at Founder Institute this past year, and we also recently graduated from Merge Lane, which is an accelerated program based out of Boulder, Colorado, started by the top Techstars mentor, Sue Halbronner. And Sue, along with a varied group of other people, are the advisors that we have both here in Canada as well in the US. And a little bit more about Merge Lane. Sue realized that there's a lot of female co-founders that weren't going to these tech accelerated programs, so she decided to start Merge Lane. Merge Lane was backed by the Foundry Group, who were the people that started Techstars. So they consider this Techstars for women. What people know is that when you invest in female tech founders, it's not only good for gender parity, but it's also better for your portfolio. We've raised $200,000 so far through Love Money, grants, loans, as well as funding from the Accelerator program. And our projections have us working towards getting profitable within the 4th year of running our business. And with global partners and strategic channel partners, we can see ourselves getting to $100 million by 2021. Right now, we are looking for funding for $400,000 to give us 8 months of runway at 20%. We want to focus on getting up to 800 monthly bookings, as well as achieving a $7,500 monthly reoccurring revenue. What we'll do with those funds is that we will build out a much-needed team of developers, sales, and marketing staff that can assist us with growing this product. We are looking for more people like Auntie Joan, people who are looking to save money on their space, and looking for homeowners and people that are looking to make money from the space that they already have. So we can see less of this, an environmental eyesore, and more of this. If you see space like I do, come and speak to me after. I'm Sarah from Space I Share. Thank you.
Okay, that was great. Jess, you get to start this time.
Sarah, excellent presentation. I like the fact that you identified that you were doing a pivot right up front, that it's good to give the background, but also to show where you're going. So I think that's a really strong strategy to take. In terms of 8 months of runway, had you considered looking at a little bit more of a runway, given that the best laid plans of men and mice sometimes go astray? Had you thought about taking that, perhaps looking for a little bit more and allowing yourself a little bit more wiggle room as you go forwards? Something to consider there. And then in terms of the build out, there might be other ways that you might want to look in terms of, would you consider online ad revenue or different things like that to augment what you're doing along the way? So probably things that you've already thought of, but just to put that in for the presentation so others can sort of see where it is. Love the fact that you put the financials up there. I realize in a short presentation you only get to glance at them, but at least it gives people the feeling that you've worked all the way through it. And some of the programs that you've been through are very impressive. I know people that have been through them, colleagues of yours, and have had great feedback on how they found it. So congratulations on a solid presentation.
Great presentation, Sarah. I wish you had this about a year ago, because I had a friend who parked his car in my driveway. Actually, that went into my garage, and I had to pull mine out to the driveway. So it sucked. So I could have got some money out of that, but I didn't. So it's a good problem you're after for sure. What I'm concerned is about the trustworthiness of this, because these are, for instance, for vehicles, right? It's going to be stored for a long period of time, where you're not going to get a steady flow of reviews coming to judge based on, okay, is it a worthy place to park my car for 6 months or 1 year? So that's a concern. I don't know how you're addressing that. And testimonials would be nice to have in there to get some comfort for people, who want to park their car and stuff. So that would be my 2 cents.
Hi, Sarah. Great presentation. I like the whole sharing economy space that you're in, and I agree with Jess. The pivot is a good move. It also shows how resilient you are to addressing feedback from the marketplace. So kudos on that front. One question I did have as you were going through your pitch is, okay, this sounds really interesting, but what about the recurring revenue stream? Is there one? How is it placed? And then at the end, you actually showed me the 7.5K MRR. So the one thing I would suggest is in your pitch to identify how that MRR is being created, because from an investment point of view, we love to see that recurring revenue stream. On another front, the sharing economy is awesome in terms of opportunity. But the one thing that I would want you to highlight is that's great. And are you just doing missionary work for your competition who's bigger and better and then could come in? So how do you protect yourself from others just replicating your business model? And so identify that unique hook that is difficult to replicate. Great.
Thank you, guys. Okay, anybody have any questions? Dig deep. Come on, you guys got some. I like it.
I guess this might be a little granular, but back to a comment from the judges. How do you protect yourself from liability issues? How do you protect yourself, from somebody who, like me, can be klutzy and I go into the space that I've rented out to somebody and I trip and fall? And how does that affect you?
Yeah, so currently we do have a few insurance policies in place that do have third-party protection for all of the falls that may occur. In addition, with funding, we want to also add on the additional ability to cover any damages that will happen up to $1 million or more for either the host or the renter. And then ultimately, when we partner with this insurance adjuster, the major thing will be they've seen it all. So essentially, they're going to be the ones that will provide us with an algorithm that will allow us to do on-demand insurance for each and every user, and that will be a form of additional revenue for us.
Okay.
Going with the supply and demand, where do you see your biggest trouble? Finding supply of places to rent out, or the supply of people to actually rent them? Where have you been getting your early feedback for that?
So far, we've had a lot of demand. A lot of people are at our door knocking, looking for space. And for us, the challenge has been so far is to find the space. So someone's looking for 100 square feet in a certain area. And until we actually have mass where we say you've got 10 spaces within 5 blocks, it will continue to be a challenge. And part of the reason we are going into commercial is that we can instantly get supply with one landlord who has 9,000 units. So all those people can start sharing space, at least in and amongst themselves, because it's already happening. But yeah, demand hasn't been a problem. They're there.
Okay, I'm running.
Sarah, in case somebody wants to store household belongings in the future and people have climate-controlled storages, like what direction would you take the company if you have to go towards climate control, not just vehicle storage?
So when it comes to a host providing space, some of them do have climate control because it will be in their basement or a second bedroom. We've actually got a calculator on our platform that allows people to calculate how much their space is worth based on whether or not it's an indoor or an outdoor, so a garage versus a basement. Do you have 24-hour access? Do you have partial access where you have to call the host? Is it climate controlled or is it outdoor on a driveway? So so that's kind of how we're dealing with it right now. So there are climate control spaces. You just may not have access 24 hours because you have to get in touch with a host. I don't know if that answered your question.
Okay.
So very good presentation. Just 2 questions. Feels like most of current revenue is coming from the parking, right? So when you try to move to other stuffs, do you see any complexities? Parking relatively easy, just a car putting a space. But when you put a lot of box, unknown stuff in there, do you have a concern, or from the people who provided the space, do they have a right to exam or to check, or what if there's something inside and illegal? And quickly also for the parking, a lot of condo property management, they also have a concern. If you're not living there, they cannot give the parking space. Do you have anything handle that kind of situation?
So great questions. So the first one, what's in the box, comes up a lot. What we suggest with hosts is that you are meeting your renter, and at some point you'll be seeing the stuff that's being stored in your space. So what we say is that with your renter in present, that you look into some of the boxes if you feel at any point that you're concerned about what they're storing. Most of the time it's baby gear, Christmas decorations, winter tires, things that aren't of issue. We also have a legal document where the renter has to outline the items that they are storing. Otherwise, they don't get access to the currently $2,500 assurance guarantee that we have. It is a concern for people, which means that we need to educate more people as to the answer that the question you just asked. So where we think the biggest opportunities are the driveways and the garage spaces, so people don't actually walk into your home just yet. So that's the one thing. And then the second question you asked was, sorry, the condos. So certainly there's a number of people who are promoting both on our platform and other platforms for storage and parking spaces. Some have authority to do so, others don't. What we see is that if we put ourselves in with the condo board initially and we get the platform running for them, then even though we know that it's happening, now they can do it with the ability to see who's renting space to whom. And for every transaction, they will get a cut of that transaction. And that we think will be more palatable to them in the end. Yeah, and it's all wrapped up in a nice insurance package, because that's really the biggest issue is the insurance and liability.
Okay, we're going to do one quick question.
Oh, it's not quick. Will you store depleted uranium or a box of snakes? No, you won't do that.
Yeah, that's on the list of things you can't.
Okay, understood.
So nothing illegal, no chemicals, no live dead creatures or any of that kind.
Actually, the quick question is this, I'm sorry. One of the reasons why Uber works is that you Uber at least once a day, like it's something that happens on a regular basis. In this case, I have one garage, I've got one parking spot, and then there's no sort of virality to it. Like, I did it once, that's it. I'm not tweeting about it regularly. I'm not like, oh yeah, I'm still so excited that my parked car is still there. Right. So what are you doing to promote that virality so that everybody wants to put their parking spot on it?
So the plus side to having stuff in storage. So I have somebody who's renting my garage right now, and she has her stuff in there. She gives me $100 a month, and it's $100 that I get each and every month for up to 12 months, and it could be longer. Most people say they're going to put their stuff in for 3 months, and 3 years later, you're still getting a self-storage expense sheet. So we actually see that as a positive thing, because most of the time, once you end up parking or you are renting space, you're in there and you do have that monthly recurring revenue. It's not as high of a transaction as you would with an Uber ride or with an Airbnb host. However, a lot of Airbnb hosts, we know, have about 20% space to spare based on the conversations that we've had with them. And the virality, I think, will come because there's people looking to earn a little bit of extra money, but they don't want to have tenants. And we always say boxes are so much quieter. So we think it's going to open up a whole new opportunity for people.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple of comments. So I'm thinking that you could jump into larger lock boxes, branded lock boxes, and you go in and you send a crew in to build the box of steel, put on the tag, lock it, put a camera on it, like one of those little doggy cat toys that follow it around, make sure that no one's going into your stuff. I'm sure there's lots of opportunities that you can start to build service around it. Okay, so before we jump into the next pitch, I do have one question for everybody in the audience. Is there any entrepreneurs that have a startup currently right now they're working on that aren't pitching right now? So what we're going to do in this little quick segment is it's an elevator pitch. You have 30 seconds to come up, say your name, and talk about your business. So who would be interested to do that right now? You got a whole audience that would be interested to hear what you have to say. And you know what the biggest first step of being an entrepreneur is? 1, doing something you didn't think you were going to get to do. 2, acting on it and making it happen. And 3, kick ass. So who's up? You're up. Who else? David. You got right there. 5. Come on up, guys. 30 seconds, and I'm cutting you off at 30 seconds. Name and what your business is all about.
I just thought of this. No, I've had some ideas. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the blockchain technologies, the stuff that crypto coins are running on, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin. The underlying technology is called blockchain. Essentially, it's just a database. It's a peer-to-peer database let's not get into the details, it's a little bit complicated. I want to use that, I want to utilize that technology for healthcare management, to store medical records for lifetime. And so that way, you know, when you transfer hospitals or when you go from different clinic to clinic, your files don't have to be faxed over or email.
You're going to get better next time, I swear. Good idea.
Hi there, everybody. My name is Alex Todd. I'm founder of Trust to Pay. Our first product is called Social Exchange. It's a mobile platform for community engagement and recognition that allows the participants to earn an authentic digital brand. And we're piloting this in West Queen, West Village, starting in September and running through October, and including at-risk youth who will be building a social credit score that they'll be able to use to get credit, employment, housing, and insurance as a result of that.
Great, thank you.
Hi, my name is David, and I'm working on a company called Another Reality. It's a virtual reality amusement park. So you may have been to some of the virtual reality, they call themselves arcade in the GTA area. You know, those to me are more like internet cafes. We want to build something that's really, you know, like a park. There's different attractions rather than just booths you can visit. So if you're interested in, you know, chatting about virtual reality or interested in this space, please talk to me. I'm actually looking for a space right now. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, perfect. Okay, we got one more. Let's do it.
Good evening. My name is Sohaila Rostami. I'm a researcher of mindfulness and a coach. I would like to take mindfulness to the boardroom and also C-suite. So my business model is B2B. So what I'll do is, I don't know how familiar you are with mindfulness. Mindfulness nowadays is using companies like Google, Facebook, now Salesforce to increase performance. And also people use that to create morale. And also creativity enhances creativity and so many other benefits, including mental wellness. My platform is on my platform.
Very good, thank you. Well, thank you guys for jumping in and doing that, from the new ideas into the businesses. But at the end of the day, you did something you weren't going to do and you didn't know it was going to happen. And that's what being an entrepreneur is doing something exciting and crazy and different. So keep at it, and thank you guys for sharing. All right, next, Galen, you're on, buddy.
These pitches have all been so good, and now it's all going to go to the dogs, fellas. This one not working? Test, test. Yep, is that better? They're both the same? All right. My name is Galen Udell. I am the founder and top dog of a company called Bark and Yap, and we are in a mission right now to connect the people that love dogs to the businesses that love them. So this journey started for me about 10 years ago. My wife and I are Uber dog parents. We're currently being raised by our third and fourth dogs at this point in time, being trained properly, we hope. But this started when we moved about 10 years ago. We thought we could keep all of our resources, our vet, our dog walker, groomer. Wasn't the case. We got to a new community, and suddenly the stress of the move, we then had to start to find all these other resources. And the way we went about that was that we didn't have these devices at that time. We had to go to the dog park and talk to people and get to know them so they could give us some references and reviews and rate them. So fast forward 5 years, I'm on an assignment in China, my last corporate gig, and my wife is back home with our dog at that time, who got attacked. And it was a very traumatic experience, both for the dog and for my wife. And so we had to go and find resources again. We had to cast a wider net because a very specific thing we had to find, which was to both retrain the dog, but also retrain my wife, because she was very scared now of being around other dogs. So when I retired, I set about trying to figure out, how do we make this better? How do we find these resources in a better way? And in the process of doing that, started to realize that on the other side of the model, the businesses had no way to reach out to the customers in a really, really good way. Didn't understand digital all well. Most of the companies have less than 4 employees. It's a very micro market. So they have a real challenge trying to reach out to that client base. And so was born Bark and Yap. So Bark and Yap is a platform that allows a dog to be able to research, review, and then connect with other dog owners and share that information in a very timely manner. But at the other side, it allows the businesses to be able to connect in a much more efficient and effective way to those pup parents who really need that information, but allow them to then also get a better return on investment for their marketing dollars. So our vision is to really bring together the best trusted platform for dog owners to be able to find the businesses that love dogs. We have a vision that starts with building the community, working on a platform around advertising, and then moving that into a SaaS model and then a marketplace model. So how does it work? It's all about the dogs. This is the one site where your dog will actually own an account. So your dog will create an account, they connect with other dogs, and then they can map, find everything they want, all the resources around them, and then they can find all the information about the businesses. The reason we do this is that dog owners are very specific, and dogs are very specific. What my Nova Scotia duck-tolling retriever, right here, Chili, what she likes is nothing like what my little rat terrier rescue dog that I just got last year, what she likes. She doesn't like anything that Chili likes. But they have differences, and those other dog owners will recognize that as well. On the business side, we know we had to make this very, very easy and simple for the dog owners, or for the dog businesses. So we went out, we scraped the data. We've got 7,000 businesses right now in our platform. Excuse me. And so what we do is we send out information to them, invite them to come and join the businesses, put their business up online, and then they're shared automatically to all the dog owners. So how does it work? Well, we're a subscription-based model. So it's a SaaS model, or sorry, it's a subscription-based model with recurring revenue on annual subscription. Very low price point because we know that this is what the businesses will go for. We've surveyed them. $100 for them fits their model extremely well. But then we have a bunch of pay-per-use elements, advertising, events, sponsorship, and then eventually we get into some SaaS very specific to this marketplace. On the other side, we have a big play here with the manufacturers where they really need to figure out how to better reach this client base. They're having a very difficult time getting down to the dog owner marketplace. So we do that through a combination of, excuse me, online and offline events. Where'd my clock go? Oh, okay. So what we see right now is that these are a number of businesses in North America. It's around 220,000 businesses in this space. These are made up of a bunch of different sectors that are inside of here, from dog walkers to daycares to manufacturers, pet suppliers. The digital marketing platform here is moving very, very rapidly. So the growth right now for advertising in this space is at 5% per year, but the movement to digital is over 12%. So it's a very, very high growth marketplace that we're entering into. We're at the very beginning of this wave. And right now it's a $1.2 billion advertising market. It's going to be $1 billion just in the digital space within the next couple of years. So what supports it are the dog owners. So there's 35 million dog owners in North America, in our target market, that feel the dog is part of their family. So those people are spending $45 billion a year. So the marketplace for us, where we eventually want to get to, is really tapping into this part of the marketplace. So that's done. Excuse me. So our strategy on this is right now to go at a very core level. We're focused into 3 communities in Toronto, really building up the dog marketplace. Think of it as like the, where we just really want to confine ourselves into those communities, make ourselves look as large as possible. But these are communities, Liberty Village, City Place, High Park, very large young group of people that are really like me. They love their dogs. They don't have kids. Their dogs are their family. So, excuse me, we've got a bunch of community events we do. We're very Toronto focused, a lot of social media and rewards programs for those dog owners. Oh, thank you. Actually, just a reminder. So right now we're in the market doing a lot of different activities. We're working with the SPCA. We work with a bunch of humane societies, working at the expos. And then we're working with a program we just started with the shelters and rescues, where we donate $1 back to a shelter and rescue when they have someone who's rescued a dog joins Bark and Yap. We donate $1 right back to them. We're piloting right now in Columbus, Ohio, and we'll be starting in Metro DC area at the end of this month. So from the dog accounts perspective, we soft launched in June of last year. We had our mobile app come out in February, and we've had a 29% month-over-month growth in our number of dog owners coming aboard. And for the businesses, it's about 21%. These are the businesses that are registering. So of those 6,000, the ones who are activating their accounts. So for us, the key to all this is moving down into a very low acquisition cost strategy. We cannot be spending our time, we'll start here, but we really have to move the ball down into this low acquisition cost for the type of model we are. So we'll spend time in the SMB marketplace with the retailers, very low touch, high volume. But for the franchises and manufacturers, it has to be a high touch, and it has to be for high value for them. So from a competitor's perspective, we have one competitor right now in the Canadian marketplace called Pet5. They've just come out. They are only on mobile app. We're on both mobile and web. And then we have Bring Fido, who's been in the marketplace probably the longest. They're just a hotel selector for dog-friendly hotels. Rover Dog Vacay, if you're not familiar, huge story, just merged last year. Both of them have raised over $50 million. So they're a big player, but they're really focused on dog sitters and walkers. And then two other competitors, Bark Happy and Pod In, kind of doing what we're doing, but only in the US. So where we see ourselves going here, it's a huge ramp opportunity here for us. It's all in the US based. We have to get to the US in order to launch in this kind of manner. The numbers are ridiculous once you get to the US marketplace just because of the size of the market and the number of people you're looking at to go after. So today, we have done all of our funding through friends and family rounds.
Looking for 120 on seed, and then follow on with that, going in the angel side at 400,000 on the angel side. And that's really for us to really get our development resources back in play so we can push hard into the US marketplace, then start to develop our marketing and the inside sales piece. That's how we grow all that revenue. Once we get the smaller business on board, it's got to be through an inside sales model. So vertical, here's what we see for an exit for us. There are a lot of potential opportunities for exit here. We have, because this space is relatively new, there's going to be consolidation that's going to happen. So it's either going to happen at the vertical side with someone like BarkBox, Bark Happy, Pod In, maybe want to get to the
marketplace, so we become the obvious. They don't even look at our market at all. So digital consolidation. Yelp right now doesn't do really much in the space, but they do have dog reviews dog business reviews, but they don't go to the depth we do, or Yellow Pages. And then also on the industry side, the manufacturers and the retailers are really trying to build community. They're trying to figure out the best way to get their hands around a community. So we become that community platform. The team that we have put together, myself and my co-founder, I'm retired, as you can see, a little gray. I've been around, I've done a lot, international business, sales marketing background with IBM. My co-founder, Glenn Clark, 25 years in the consulting and IT. He's our CTO. Susie Wang is our content marketing manager. She's, she's one of the co-founders of Y2. So she's got a real strong marketing background and really likes to look in the marketplace and sees it from a perspective that I just can't for the young. And our chief marketing officers, my two kids that inspire me every day to get out of bed, or make me get out of bed. They don't inspire me, they just make me get out of bed every day. So, and that's us, that's Barking Yap. Our ask also is we are looking to build a community. If you're a dog owner, please come and join our platform. It's all free. And we are just there to, right now, help build this biggest, best community we can for dog owners. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. You had 11 seconds. Perfect timing, perfect timing. Sath, you're up, buddy.
Thanks. Galen, this is the first time I'm listening to your pitch, so it's really good. Looked at your services and good stuff. I liked how you provided the exit plan, which is something that was missing in other presentations. So this kind of excites other people. Okay, you know what, 1 or 2 years, so the investors can see some return, right? So that's pretty enticing. One thing that I see in businesses is that they focus on one vertical or one services, and then they add further services once they capture a good portion of the market, right? Because you're having challenges adding businesses on board, right? So my question would be why are you not focusing on one particular services, and then once you capture that market, adding other services? I'm not entirely sure about the market, so maybe there's a reason for that, but that was my only concerned to penetrate one particular segment fully and then add new services.
Galen, excellent presentation. I've known you for a while, but not known the depth of Bark and Yap, so that was great to see that. Thank you very much. Ooh, that's a lot of feedback. When you were talking about the 6,000 businesses and the freemium model, do you have ratios, or could you include in future the number that you think are going to go on to the subscription model, and from there, just to sort of start building the building blocks of how the revenue is going to come in? I think that would be just anytime you have an investor and they can see building blocks of how it's going to come in, it makes it just that more quantifiable and real for them. And when you do go for the angel round, and I realize this is a little bit further ahead, of course you'll go to York Angels, but that's a side story. Valuation percentage of companies, addressing that, getting it right up front. Obviously it's a negotiation, but just getting that right out there so the discussion is starting on an even table. And under 1 minute, I pass it to Angelo.
Well, I think I'll be quick because my first question was, what's the valuation based on the ask? But there are a couple of areas. First of all, I really like the staged approach, Galen, in terms of how you're building that community and focusing on the community, then the SaaS, and then moving on to the advertising revenue stream. So it shows good trajectory in terms of how you're going to generate revenues. This isn't the first time I've seen you pitch, so it's better. So good job. The one still area that I talked about the last time, which I'd love to sit down with you, is on the customer acquisition, how to get those 3 digits down to 2 digits or even less. But other than that, great job.
Okay, who has some questions for Galen? And you can bark them out if you want. I'm not very good at dog talk, though.
Hi, great presentation. So I'm a recent dog owner, and I guess I never thought of looking for dog-specific social media type things. So do you not see existing social media platforms as a competitor as well? Because yeah, I joined a Facebook community group, and that's mainly where I'm getting a lot of the information that I think, yeah.
That's a great question, and we do see them as peripheral competitors. What you get with, say, Facebook, there are plenty of dog groups out there. In fact, some of the numbers we based our growth on are some of the groups that we've seen launch and how fast they grow. So people do join these groups within Facebook, but then what happens is you end up getting just a number of them that sort of stay participative in it. And then Facebook doesn't really allow you to, the only people they're going to recommend are those who are advertising on their platform. So when you go in and you're looking for some advice, you're going to hear from just that small little group of people versus seeing what the entire community has to offer beyond that small little group you're in. The other one that's really a competitor is Instagram. If you go to Instagram, there are millions of dogs on Instagram. Not people, they're dogs. But they're just sharing pictures. So that's all they're doing. They're just a picture sharing service. So we can coexist with something like an Instagram because they're not providing what we provide, which is that value add to the owner to find what they need. In fact, we have a feed, but we're actually not putting pictures on that at this point in time. That's not our purpose. We really want to build those reviews and get that part of the marketplace organized before we add on something that might try to compete with Instagram, because we'll never compete with that 800,000-pound gorilla. So.
Okay, next question. I'm going to get a segue.
All right, bit of an interesting question, but I came across some news later this week. Have you looked at real estate transaction support or advertising for with dogs? One of the pieces of news that came out this week is that the number one factor in determining the purchase of a house for a millennial is whether or not it's suitable for their dog. Not whether they're getting married, not whether they're going to have kids, but whether or not it's happy for the dog.
And great question. We actually got into a conversation and started developing something with another startup called Wishpad. And so they go out and they're helping millennials find homes in a different manner on a platform. So we're supplying data to them as one of their feeds, so people can say, I'm looking for a house that's in a dog-friendly neighborhood. And
So for us, we see that as we build up the community. The problem is until we get enough dog owners on board, we don't have enough mass to provide them really the amount of data they need. But once we get that mass data, it becomes really simple. If I'm a homeowner and I'm looking for a home and I want to see how close is that to the off-leash park, or how many other dog owners might be within this area because they'll congregate together. So that's definitely on our list. We've had those conversations. We just don't have the scale yet to provide the value. So we went down that road, we provide data, but it hasn't led us yet to that point where it's an aha for them and an aha for us.
Okay, we got time for one more question. Okay. Yeah, for sure, you bet.
So this is for all the entrepreneurs in the room. One of the things I really liked about these presentations is they talked about the competition that they had and the different sort of where they measured up against them, where they didn't, and the opportunities. One of the other things we love to hear is the barrier to entry for future competition. So if you have anything that makes you proprietary, patentable, or anything like that, or something that your base of knowledge is going to make it so much harder for someone to come in a year down the road and just swoop in on all the hard work you've done. If you can include that in the presentation, that again is something that really helps as an investor to say, hey, okay, great, there's going to be leaps and bounds ahead, whether it is a patented thing or whether it's that the community grows so quickly. Just to put that in on top of as well looking at the comparisons between the different competitors that you have. Great, it was addressed in all the presentations, but another opportunity.
That was excellent. Okay. All right, thank you. So Jess, it's great that you actually brought that up because one of the questions that I wanted to address to the crowd was something that I think we all fear at some point, which is public speaking and getting in front of an audience. And one of the things I wanted to ask the advisors, is there any advice that you would give to the audience when they're preparing and getting in front of the stage? Because really it is daunting, it's scary. What things do you think of that are the best way that can help them rest their mind and be prepared and be ready? What are the, maybe one each, what you guys think would be a good thing to share?
So this might be a little bit self-focused, but for York Angels, one of the things we really like to do is have the entrepreneurs come and sit in on an investment meeting and see the angel feedback and see the questions before they're even ready to apply and come and pitch, because it is so much better to come to a warm room where you know what's going on and you understand the format. So that's one of the things that we think is really important, to create transparency, and so it's no longer a black box. So you understand what's going on and you can see the process, and then you're more comfortable with it. Lots of practice is the other one. So anytime you have the opportunity to talk at a Pitchit event, or you can trap friends and family, or even better, somebody who is in business who might have a potential investing opportunity, then those would be great places to practice.
I'm still in the process of mastering this because I'm getting better at public speaking. So this is what I use my mobile phone, like, you know, tape myself when I do pitches and watch it again and see where I'm making the mistake, what words am I using again and again, trying to limit those. So that's what I would advise, is tape your pitches and practice.
I'm a strong believer in being able to videotape yourself, see how you're presenting, what your body language is, be very flexible and comfortable, and whatever you do, because it's almost guaranteed. Look at Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, every product launch that they did, they either had to contend with the blue screen of death as they're presenting. Do not get flustered. If your presentation or clicker doesn't work, just move on. Don't worry about it. What you say is really what's important, not necessarily what's on the screen. So always try and convey your message and be as comfortable as possible. We gauge an opportunity really not only by the business, but most importantly, the individual. We really invest on the individual. So be as open and as true.
And following up on Angela's point, I think authenticity, because it's based on the people, and you can try and do a very corporate presentation, but chances are, when you're an entrepreneur, you've gotten into it because you're passionate about something. Nobody says, gee, I want to eat pizza for, you know, many, many months and, you know, couch surf or whatever it is to get it started. It's because you're passionate about something. So let that come through, because the passion is what's going to carry you through the harder times, but it also gives the investor confidence that you really do believe in what it is and that you're willing to put, your heart and soul into it. So you can have a very good presentation with lots of numbers, but have some soul into it. And humor, please, please, humor is always good to keep us awake, okay?
It sounds like you guys are real humans and that you... Oh, okay, fair enough. So it sounds like in order to be great at pitching, you need to have a little bit of personality that shows, make sure it shows, maybe a lot. Be loud, talk, be concise, but be yourself. I think one thing I'd throw that really works that I try to do, and I don't really know any jokes, but if you make yourself smile and make yourself laugh, you'll come up with a whole different demeanor when you get in front of the crowd. The thing is, you're all going to go in serious because you think you need to be serious, and you really don't need to be. You need to be accurate and share what you know and make sure that it's precise and to the point, but have some humor to it, have some enjoyment. If you don't have fun, you're going to leave going and stressing, oh my God, I didn't do a good job, this is terrible. But throw a little bit of a funny quirk in there, like the bark out the question, make yourself feel comfortable. So do something that makes you feel comfortable, and you'll find that it'll go a lot easier and a lot smoother. So, but thank you, that was awesome, guys. Okay, enough of the educational side. Let's jump into James. You're on, buddy.
So after that little conversation, I feel like I should tell a joke right now, but I don't know. So a lot of familiar faces here in the audience, and a lot not so familiar. For those that don't know me, my name is James Daigle. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Ubiquitous, which is based here in York Region, Newmarket to be exact. We're a hardware electronics company that's been developing internet-connected sensors for the past year and a half. And through that journey, we realized the product that we're making is very versatile. So versatile, of course, that the three companies that pitched already, I have a vertical and an angle that I can talk to you about later, how my product can fit into those. But that's not why I'm not here to scatter and spaghetti and stick. Along that journey, we realized where we really had a need for our product and where we can make the greatest impact in a short term is with our aging loved ones. And so, Crystal, it was a great pitch, and I can attest to all the numbers she said. They're all factual, and I won't go into them so much because I'm going after the exact same market in a different way. So, like I said, we've been working on this for a year and a half, and we realized the aging population is near and dear to all of our hearts, and it's a growing segment. If you've ever been faced with looking after a loved one, you know that finding peace of mind can be stressful and sometimes impossible to find. So whether if you're wondering if mom or dad is going to wander out in the middle of the night or when they're taking their medication, that's just some of the questions that keep you up at night. So what we found is the statistics behind there that Crystal can attest to, it's alarming at some of what's going on in the population today. The numbers are dramatic, and for instance, the one there, 1 in 4 caregivers will lose a job or have to leave a job to look after a loved one. There are alternatives out there, but there's not enough alternatives until now, hopefully. Up until this point, people have been looking for home care, which can be hard to find. It can be hard to find good home care and to investigate that. And you can get the volunteer system with volunteers and neighbors and stuff like that. But what really is alarming that only 3% of our seniors are in professional home care. So that leaves a big part of that market that needs to be addressed. So how can Cubic address this market? Cubic is a Wi-Fi connected sensor. I have one right here. They're easy to carry around with me. So these little sensors do great things, and what we're focusing on is how they can help with this problem. So our sensors can measure changes in temperature, changes in motion, and they can, hopefully in the future, we'll add other sensors that can measure other things as well. But in this case, knowing when mom or dad, when we're not around, knowing when mom or dad turns on the stove or turns off the stove and get a notification to make sure that we know that that's happening. Or in the case of medication, putting a sensor on top of the medicine cabinet, or on the medicine cabinet drawer, or on the front door, and worrying about mom or dad wandering out at night. We can see real-time data and see what's happening in the house while we're still at that job, or we're maybe even across the country. Like in the case of me, I have a sister in Calgary. She would like to be involved with looking after mom and dad, but can't always be, but she can monitor the data that's coming in. What we've done great with these sensors is we've built out an app that is very versatile. and we can place sensors. So I can have sensors in my home, I can have sensors in my mom's home, my office, measuring different things. But in the case of the aging population, we can put all those sensors, see the data, and be able to share that data easily with the family members, loved ones, or volunteers that might be around. So some of the tech behind it, it's pretty straightforward tech. It's Wi-Fi connected, has a great long battery life, and there are competitors in the market. But the competitors in the market, I don't think they're filling the need the way that we are addressing it. There's mainly three kinds. There's the hub and spoke that you might be familiar with. They're the new sensors like the Nest and everything, where you have a base station, you have sensors throughout, and they're communicating, and they can be an expensive and complicated system to set up. Bluetooth adds some great capabilities with battery and stuff like that, but you have to be within range, and I want to know this information when I'm away, I'm at the office or what have you. A lot of tinkerers and hobbyists have Arduino boards where they can set up the similar kind of thing, but you have to be a little bit tech savvy and you have to have some knowledge in technology. And we're providing more of an out-of-the-box solution. So how big is the market? Like we said, 6 million people in Canada, and it's growing. It's our fastest segment of the population. So we're going after the demographics similar to the Connect you've seen earlier. Like I mentioned, of the population are in home care providers, so it leaves a big gap that is not being fulfilled. And people do spend money in this area, so that's good for us to be able to sell that, but we think we can make it more affordable for people. There's two revenue models. There's the consumer side for our product, which we're really focusing on, which is the age in place and other things around home and office and everything else, but we're really focusing on age in place right now. Moving forward, there will be a vertical. We actually did a feasibility study with a pharmaceutical company and different applications that our product can be used for, but near and dear to my heart is the aging population, so that's where we're focusing with this revenue model. We're actually launching a Kickstarter next month, and a lot of my numbers are based on the success of this Kickstarter, and we're getting a lot of good feedback already as we're building our audience, so we're pretty excited about that. I won't go too much into the commercial side of things, but I'd be happy to talk to people after the event about that because there are great verticals there and we have been opening some doors there. Traction to date, we had an early pre-Kickstarter and that was more of a marketing campaign. We scattered all kinds of versatile applications that we could use this for to see what people were interested in. Aging population came back as the most popular, and that's where we changed our engineering and really focused on that demographic and that market. Through doing that, we were able to succeed with some IRAP funding that helped us re-engineer the product for that market. And we were also involved with the Launchpad startup, which is a great program. You can talk to Seth about that. I didn't know you were here today. And we just finished the Infinity Labs. The first of its kind was a major car company did an accelerator program, and we were one of 9 companies selected in North America to go through there. We're getting some news press, and if there's any bloggers or news people, we can always use more PR, so come see me afterwards. I'd love to talk to you. And the roadmap looking forward is we've created some new hardware that's going to be finished up very shortly, and that's what the Kickstarter campaign is to show people what great added things that we put into this, and we're excited about the feedback we're getting about it. Manufacturing will begin shortly after that, and then we'll move into the holiday marketing season. And looking ahead, like I said, to extend on some partnerships that we're already building in pharmaceutical and agricultural, and we want to implement a recurring revenue model that's exciting, but the numbers aren't detailed, and I don't want to give you false numbers with projections that I don't have the numbers, but we're excited because the numbers are going to be big. Why we can pull this off is it's not my first rodeo. I've created hardware products before. I've got nationwide deals across the country in retail. I've been doing this for quite a while. And more exciting this time around is I have a strategic partner in Tree Frog based out of Newmarket. And instead of doing it on my own like last time, now I can do it with a team around me. We have a core group of, from Tree Frog that really work closely on this project. But we do have access to up to 45 members at any given day, and that's the office I work out of. So it makes everything in-house for my digital marketing, SEO, and everything else. So although I'm a one-man show, I'm actually a 45-man show, which is great. What we're looking for today, we're looking for some seed investment because we brought it to where we need and we really want to scale this, and we're looking for investment from people. We're excited because we have great traction right now. What's ahead in September, we got some things launching in September that are all kind of coming together in a funnel, and we're pretty excited about. We're looking for 350, but not everybody here is an investor, a lot of entrepreneurs and everything, and I'm looking for your help as well because I am launching a Kickstarter next month. September 18th is the projected date. And for anybody that goes to sign up at ubiquitous.com before then, we'll have some early access to early bird pricing. And as always with every company, we want you to share the story. And when you do, use hashtag Cubic. And I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and I'd love to field some questions.
Awesome. Seth.
Trick, James, your pitch has gotten better from the start when you started in Launchpad or before that, right? And I see that it has, the shine has gotten a little lighter, so that's good. One thing is the numbers that would kind of try to scare investors, right? Like 350K for 3.5 million for pre-revenue company would be something to consider. Okay, so there might be some underlying reasons for it, but so maybe providing that would be helpful. The other thing that I had a hard time understanding is the same thing is, targeting one use and trying to master that versus providing multiple services through different type of sensors. So what is the use case? Like you were giving different scenarios, but how each one goes through that particular use case. So if it's a temperature sensor, just going through that, or a motion sensor, how does it go through it? The use case would be interesting.
Exciting to see you again. And again, I continue to see the presentation evolve, so great job on that. One thing I'd love to see is maybe looking towards the future. From an investor point of view, we love to know when our money is coming back and how it's going to come back. So are there some, in future, do you see an acquisition as your exit, or what is the liquidity event? Something that, it's that carrot that you dangle in front of us that says, hey, get in now because there is going to be a liquidity event. I think that would be something that I would touch on. And I think similar to Seth, maybe sort of as you work through what is would be a typical use case scenario, how many sensors would they buy? Sort of a per price, because it's a per price unit right now, what would be an average household need, or how you would roll it out, just to give like an example, making it a little bit more tangible for those of us who maybe haven't implemented something like this before. But good presentation.
Just like before, a lot of my comments are already stated, but I did want to mention that I've seen you a few times, James, and I think this is the clearest that I've seen in terms of the technology. So I like it. I really like your launch, being of, my wife is Chinese, so I think you picked the right date in terms of the Kickstarter. What would have been better is if it was August the 18th, because then it would have been 818. So that. So on one front, though, on the elderly care, which is, as I mentioned before during the other presentation, it's near and dear to my heart. I have a lot of experience in that area. All of my family members that I'm caregiving for at various stages, none of them have Wi-Fi capability at all, which is not that unusual within the elderly care community. So it's one thing to think about on how you address that and bridge that gap. But I did like the definition of or the description of the different technologies, and I do want to talk to you more about the application of this in other verticals. Great stuff.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. I'll give you this mic. And we'll jump out to the audience. Oh, right there in front of me.
James, really good. I like that. Just jumping on something that Angelo said with respect to the Wi-Fi in the home. So those that do have them, and probably most of us are familiar with it, they're not all that stable. So would you be able to also put something in this that would also help to, say, restart a Wi-Fi if it went down to get the network back up? Is that something that this product could also address that could potentially alleviate those issues? So if I was going to set this up for a loved one, I could set up the router, put it in there, but knowing that if they did get a power outage or something happened to it, that a device here could actually restart that Wi-Fi unit so that I could see the metrics on our way.
Yeah, so to answer that, One of the things, and addressing what you said there is, although it's kind of like the Harley Davidson sale, going the biker image, and you're going after that market, but really you're going after the accountant. As much as we're going after the age in place, we're going after that 45 person who's used to the smart devices. So having them go in and set it up, like you said, is what we're counting on. And then there are fail-safes in there or whatever for battery, or if power goes down, it still collects the data, but it checks in regularly to make sure that everything's updated, and you can set the frequency that checks in on. And if there's an alarm where it checks in and it doesn't register, then you would get a notification. So whether it be the power outage or the system's down or anything like that, in your app you would see that it's not communicating anymore, and you would be able to pick up the phone and see if everything's okay and get it back online if need be.
Question number 2.
Hi, great presentation. I'm a hardware engineer, so I geeked out when you mentioned some of the things. My question is that, home sensors and sensors like these have been existing for a long time, and a lot of people have tried this. What makes you different? And what is the gap that you see in the marketplace that was not served before that you're serving with this? And I mean others, including Nest, or other solutions by other big service providers like Honeywell and others as well.
It's a great question. And what's happening right now in the market?
Decades to go down, that went down to 6, and then it went down to 4, and now it's down around 2 people available per senior. So what we're doing essentially is building this platform that can now create groups around people, because there's not as many people looking after them. Like in Japan, 25% of the population
are seniors, and they're building robots to look after them. And I don't want robots looking after my parents when they get older. So what we're doing is building this feature in there, being able to, everybody to share the data. So I belong to a volunteer group in Newmarket and Aurora, and I volunteer and I go see seniors every 2 weeks who don't have anybody. And I did that through a volunteer group. So I go play cards with this one gentleman, he's 93, his name is Henry, and everything else, because he has nobody. So as that trend continues, I think our group and our sharing will really fix that problem. So now you might have volunteer groups like I belong to. There's 50 people in the volunteer group looking after 85 seniors. If we were sharing that data amongst a bunch of us, then I know, you know what, they're not taking their meds, and I happen to be going to see Henry, I might stop in and see Mary as well to see if everything's okay because I see the data. So I think that's where we're differentiating ourselves, is being able to share that data and make a community out of it. So all the responsibility doesn't fall on just one person. We're making communities around data. And that can apply to the other verticals as well. So when we get into sharing data about farming or agriculture or anything, there's a lot of people sharing that community. So does that answer? Yeah. Yeah.
Giving back, that's key. One more. Oh.
Yeah, I really like your presentation. And there's a little bit technical details probably you can share later.
Yes.
I'm in the cybersecurity field. So the big challenge for IoT devices is the cybersecurity, the data. The more you share, the security risk is also there. In your design, do you have any consideration for the security?
Like every IoT company out there, they get that question. And we pride ourselves in staying up on what's best, the most current security. Because I've partnered with TreeFrog, they have a lot of experience in back-end and server-side and stuff like that. So we've talked to Seneca about some leading people through the accelerator program. We're staying up with the trends, and can I say that it'll never be hacked or anything? I believe it won't be, because it doesn't really give an opportunity for that, but never say never. So we're trying to stay ahead of everything, and like everybody else, I would like to sugarcoat it and say, but that's IoT, and we're doing our best to stay ahead of the curve. And on that point, if you have any suggestions, because you're cybersecurity, every place I go to, somebody asks, and it's usually because they know a bit, I always say, let's talk afterwards. Let me hear what you hear in the industry, and I'd love to talk to you further, because I always want to learn about the security side of things. And one further point is, because it's open data and people can see it, if you see the temperature somewhere and you were to hack and see that temperature, on that side of things, you don't know where that is or anything. So it's information that's being shared that isn't GPS targeted. You know what I mean? It's a rechargeable, so any kind of recharge, like the lithium-ion rechargeable micro USB, so you can plug it into any computer or any USB socket. And we pride ourselves with the battery because that's one of the differentiators. I can only put so much in the slides, but a typical unit will have about 2,000 duty cycles, means it can send data like 2,000 times. So if you're doing something that's only like a medicine cabinet that's only opening 3 or 4 times a day, you can do the math and divide 2,000 of that. It can go a long time, a year or more, without having to recharge, to get back to your question. But if you're somewhere like a pharmaceutical company that we're working with and they want it more, we've put the ability to add extra battery in there. So you can plug it into another battery to get the juice.
Okay, one more question. 2 more questions.
Oh, okay.
James, how many cubics do you expect an average elderly house? 10 or 100 or 3? So.
I think that's going to depend on the user. What I see and what the general feedback is some of the problems and some of the things that people worry about is monitoring the door for the wandering out, monitoring the fridge, because a lot of elderly, they might not eat enough and regularly. So if you know the fridge is being open regularly, routine, so you have the fridge, you have the stove, you have the medicine cabinet. So you're looking at 4 or 5, by all means. I'd love to see them fill the house with 10 or 20. But the numbers that we're basing everything on is that somebody would have 4 or 5 typically in their house, which would go to a cost to them somewhere around $100 to $150, which is a small price to pay for peace of mind.
So mostly it would be about safety, and we expect, let's say, 5 to 10 them in the house for $100 each. Yeah.
No, the $30 to $40 each.
Sorry.
So say 5 of them.
Yeah,
But we're hoping, and what you might have them to look after your mom or dad. You might have some in your house to look after things, the garage door opening when your son's coming home, because it's the same market, that 45-year-old, which 40, 45 I am. My kid's coming home on the school bus, the garage goes up, I get an alert. So I have 5 for my mom's house, but I might also have 5 for my house, and I might have 5 for my office, because I want to know when somebody's going through my stuff when I'm not at the office. It plays that role, and that's where this cross-marketing is great, because once we get into one place, people will start thinking, where can I use this? Can I use this in the application there? Or somebody said climate or control of knowing humidity and sensors in storage units. If I'm storing my stuff, my precious art, in like the storage example earlier, and all of a sudden I put a humidity sensor in there, now I can see that. You know what I mean? So there's cross-marketing. I kind of went off there, so.
Thank you. One more.
Hopefully a quick one. What I didn't see in the slides, and maybe I missed that, your channel strategy. Where do you see yourself getting to the market on this? Is this strictly a play that you look online? Is it an Amazon play? Big box stores? How do you see yourself getting out to the marketplace?
The short-term answer is the Kickstarter we're going out next month. Hopefully everybody took note of that, September 18th. But also e-commerce, because what I've learned in my last products, and I've had retail distribution, it's going down. Retail distribution, it's a big game to get in there. And with electronics, the life cycle of electronics changes. So we're going to go direct right now. The new year, get those. I already have distribution partners that I'm familiar with, and retail partners that I'm already familiar with. We'll determine if that's the best choice. But because what you find is you might do a revamp of the product and put a better thing out there, and that's with hardware, which is a little different. So we've thought a lot about it, and we have experience in it. So I think we'll be fine. Okay, thanks for the. Yeah, and I spoke to the CEO of Ecobee too, and how that happened with them. So, yes, thank you. Yep.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is, has everybody thrown their business card in? If you haven't, you got 10 seconds to run up here as fast as you can. All right, done. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Here we go. Pass it forward. I like it. I like it. There you go. Oh, yes, yes. I like it. All right, thank you. Okay. And I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Lucas, and he's going to take care of this.
Actually, I'm going to shirk my responsibility to give it to Jess. So what we're going to do, so first we're going to shake it. And the prize that we're drawing for here is we are drawing, we need a bigger fishbowl. So we're drawing for a t-shirt from Hard Boot, one of our sponsors, and then the other is Starbucks, a Starbucks card. So the first winner, and there's no shenanigans here, is Linda. Okay, and the second winner, Galen. That last 10 seconds was awesome. Okay, so first thing is I'm going to switch this up 1 second. Okay, so first, what's important is saying thank you. So thank you to all the sponsors. Thank you to the advisors. Most of all, thank you to the company, the founders who pitched. This event, you look at the turnout, you look at the excitement, and you look at the diversity of people who came out here. I think it's because we're getting a room of people who are interested in startups, interested in helping entrepreneurs, and people who are entrepreneurs all coming together and really sharing some interesting stuff and building some excitement. So thank you to the founders for pitching today. Thank you to everybody. So my name is Lucas Chang. I lead a community of entrepreneurs called Startup York Region. We're volunteer, we're not-for-profit, and we are one of many organizations in this York Region ecosystem. We are tied to the ecosystem in the GTA, in Durham region, into Peel region, and in some cases across Canada. So if you have a company, and as we saw this show of hands earlier, there are many who do. Some pitched, some didn't. If you need help with your company, because you need ideas, because you need support, because you need money, because you need space, because you want a mentor, maybe you've had a good run. Elliot Atkins back there has had a good run. He's done some really cool stuff. Elliot is looking to help. But there are many of us in the room who are looking to help. This is the ecosystem that, and this is not everybody, that supports entrepreneurs based in York Region, but also some beyond. I'll tell you, when I started, I didn't think this existed. This ecosystem has been evolving. I know because I put this slide together. and really, you'll see some familiar faces. There are resources available to go into detail, because to go and talk about this would be a royal pain. So what Startup York Region has tried to do is be a hub of information to give people at any stage of business entrepreneurial maturity, whether you're ideating, you're thinking about this idea, you've got a full-time job, you're kind of like, I got this other idea I want to do. Side hustle, we can help with that. There are resources, when I say we, I mean the ecosystem, can help with that. If you're further along, like you've seen from people today, there are resources to help. If you're much further along, you're looking to scale, go international, acquire a new division or what have you, there's help. So there is a document available, and startup. Look, if you're on Twitter, go to @StartupYork. You'll find the information there. But there is information that summarizes all those logos you saw, so you can go and save yourself hours of Googling. I know, because I had to do it. We also have a newsletter. Recognize this guy? So what we try to do with the newsletter is we want to share. So we've become a bit of a lightning rod. We've been very lucky in that regard. So if there are things that are happening for entrepreneurs or innovators, we want to share that. It's about building a community. It's not about, look at us, we're awesome. It's about taking you guys and using the lightning rod we have and showcasing you, augmenting what is awesome in this region, entrepreneurs and support. So we've got a newsletter. We also have a calendar. So a challenge with the newsletter has been we have put in events, but it's a pain in the ass to copy them into your calendar and whatnot. So there is a Google Calendar you can subscribe to that will take events in the region and bring it directly to your phone. It's an MVP. It's not pretty. It's kind of ugly. I wouldn't pitch it here. But as they say, if you're not embarrassed a little bit by what you put out to market, you've waited too long. And I'm a little embarrassed. I feel good about that. So it saves you time. If you don't have to Google and you don't have to copy stuff, why not? That saves you guys time. Get involved in the community. That's what we're trying to do, is build that community. If you can't find this stuff, find me, take my card, give me yours. We'll exchange information. I'll send the link. The other thing is, if you have an iPhone, that document with the resources is an iPhone app. It's free to download. It's called the YRES, short for York Region Entrepreneur Support. This was built with Tree Frog's name was mentioned earlier. They were instrumental in designing it, and a startup based in Newmarket that I happen to be a part of, called Perfectly Soft, is the technology that this thing is built in. So ecosystem, this is absolutely a product of the ecosystem. So if you want to keep in touch, from a York Region ecosystem standpoint, this kind of comes to me in some regard. So then we can share information. All that stuff I showed you earlier, that's available. If you don't know where it is, I can help. But we do events, and again, I'm not going to take time to go through that, but we do events to connect entrepreneurs. So if you are curious, let me know. I'll share the information. And I'm going to hand it back to Jeff to close.
Awesome. Thank you, man. Okay, everybody, I want to thank everybody for coming out. So big round of applause to you. Thank you. That's all of you, because you guys rock. This wouldn't work without you. For the startups, thank you again. That's big. For the advisors, all of it. Big round for everybody. We have an event tomorrow night, Pitchit York. It's at 5:30 at 251 Queen Street. We'll have 4 startups pitch. I guess it's going to be just like now, man. It's the same thing. I don't even know why I'm explaining it. You guys have lived it, so you know what it's going to be like. So come on out, enjoy it. The great thing it will add on is the other add-on piece that's going to be a benefit for the night. We actually provide wine, so that'll be something a little bit different. They allow us in this one spot. Not to say that's not a good thing or a bad thing, but it was just based on circumstance. We've got to feed you with something different. Tonight, they supplied food and all the great stuff, so thank you guys for everything you did here tonight. That was awesome. And outside of that, I look forward to seeing you guys again. My contact information is jeffrey@opn.ninja. You guys can add me on LinkedIn, text me, whatever you like to do. But at the end of the day, the key is if you guys are looking to pitch, looking to be part of a community in the network, as Lucas said, there's lots of resources that can help you. And we like to be one of those that can help you guys as well. We have some exciting news happening on September 6th, which is Pitchit City Hall. So if you guys want, go to opn.ninja, sign up, and we'll see everybody there. And we look forward to collaborating in the future. Thank you very much for coming out. Oh, and can we get all the startups up to the front? We want to take a picture with you guys in front of the signage and everything, please. And the advisors.